good news can often get overlooked or buried by the negative in our everyday lives. So let's change that. I'm Adriana.
And I'm Wyatt.
We're just two ordinary people without any special qualifications or anything, trying to navigate life. We invite you to join us as we share wholesome stories, news articles of hope, and ideas about how we can all make the world just a little bit brighter. We are uplifting positive stories. Welcome back to another episode of Uplifting Positive Stories. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
It's strange to be back.
It is.
Even though for our listeners, we've never stopped, but we ourselves stopped recording, back in, January?
Yeah.
And now it's June?
Yes.
As we took some much-needed parental leave time.
Yes. For those who have listened or watched before, I was pregnant, and now we have a little baby boy named Darian.
Mm-hmm.
He's currently 16 weeks about, and yeah, he's doing amazing. He's been just the most amazing baby. He's been so easygoing, so smiley. He's starting to interact a lot more and squeal and laugh. And right now he's taking a nap. He just got fed and he's down for a nap while we're recording.
We'll see how long he stays out while we try to record.
We'll see,
we don't have any interruptions.
But yeah, oh my gosh, we've been doing good, us in terms of our marriage and stuff like that, of course. But man, and taking care of him has been great. But we got rocked. Our birth experience was pretty not what we were expecting.
But it's mainly yours in that regard. But I was there.
But yeah, it was, full disclosure, yeah, it was rough. We won't get too much into it.
That might be a story for a later day, potentially. We'll see.
Short and quick of it is it was a 76-hour induction because things kept failing.
Kind of a failed induction, technically.
Yeah, that ended up in a C-section under general anesthesia because the epidural wasn't working. So it was pretty crazy. Nothing I didn't feel any pain or anything like that from it. They just put me under, but it was a pretty rough experience.
It was a long sleep deprived experience.
Yeah, we were in the hospital for 8 days. Mm-hmm. It was brutal, but it's basically there was a partial placental abruption, and that's why we ended up having to go to the C-section. But what's crazy is I won't go too much into it again, but this is just kind of crazy and I wanted to share. So he was having heart dips. My son was having heart dips for most of the induction process, and we didn't know why. And so they put me on Pitocin, and what's crazy is I had something in my head that said, you need to breathe harder during the contractions to get for your baby. And I was like, okay, interesting. So I started doing that. As soon as I started doing that, we noticed that the heart rate dip stopped happening as much. And so the nurse was coming in and was like, did you change positions? And I'm like, no, I've just been breathing harder. And they're like, well, you shouldn't have to do that. And I'm like, oh, well, that's what I've been doing and it's been working. They're like, yeah, but that shouldn't be a thing.
Or more so is you shouldn't have to be.
You shouldn't have to do that.
His heart should not be dipping, period.
Right. And so, it was pretty crazy. And the fact that we think that the placenta had partially abrupted for possibly more than a day, maybe even 2 or 3 days, because that's how long the heart dips were happening. I'm religious. I think it was God that maybe whispered to do that, because he came out perfectly healthy. Besides, he has hearing loss on one side, but that's probably a genetic thing. We're not really sure. We're looking into it. But other than that, he came out with a perfect APGAR score, super healthy, and we're super blessed with that and very, very thankful that he came out healthy after how scary all of that was. So yeah, again, maybe we'll go into more of it at another time. But
it's not necessarily a positive story. Besides the ultimate outcome of having a healthy baby and everyone's alive and physically healthy.
Yeah, but the thing that we wanted to talk about with this too, and maybe we can cover this in another episode more, is this experience. I, for the first time, have dealt with trauma now, to that extent, to that level.
Or at least overtly trauma.
I think
we both realize looking back, okay, we maybe do have some childhood traumas, childhood scars, but more you have to look back on it later and be like, oh, I guess that was kind of traumatic, versus right away this was oh yeah, this was traumatic. Yeah. Cue up the therapy immediately.
Yeah.
We did, and that's been helping, and we got a long way to go still.
But yeah, with that, it's been really eye-opening in terms of I had no idea what that was like to be dealing with that kind of a thing. And so from there, talking with friends, family, and finding out that they have PTSD or things like that. For me, I've been dealing with something called depersonalization, derealization since the birth. And that's been really, really scary. And so I didn't know what that was like. And being able to reach out and finding out that I have a friend that's experienced that before. I have a family member that has experienced some of that stuff before. And you would never know. Like, they don't talk about it because nobody talks about this stuff really. And like, people just are, you know, struggling and thinking that everyone else has it together when all of us, you know, like, have our own struggles that we're not aware of. And we knew that, obviously, like, it's a no duh, but
or rationally you can like rationally think about that, but
it's something else to be able to connect to people when you are struggling and be able to say, hey, like, I've been there. Or, hey, have you been there? And hear someone else be like, yes, and be able to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone in this. Sometimes it's really hard when you're in that to like see the positive when you're struggling. And so with that, we were thinking about maybe possibly throwing in a new segment that has something to do with that, because I think there's something very healing, very powerful about being able to also not just acknowledge the positive stuff and not just look at the positive stuff, but also to be able to say me too, and be able to say, have someone else validate an experience, or be able to be like, hey, you're not alone there. For example, I thought this was really cool. Someone that I know on Facebook put out a post, very vulnerable post, just being like, hey, I've been dealing with appearance issue, like feeling very insecure about my appearance and stuff like that for years. And if I'm not the only one that's dealt with this, I'm sure. And so if you have dealt with this, you're not alone. And I thought that was really, really, really cool. And so, yeah, I just think that if I'm looking for ideas. So if anybody has an idea of how to implement that in some way into this podcast, to be able to kind of create that kind of community. I know Reddit has communities like that, but just something that we could do on our podcast that would be being able to have people connect and be able to say me too, and be able to validate that experience and then look for the positive together of how they can kind of get through it, or have someone that's been through it be able to say, here's how I got through it. So yeah, that's just something that we've been brainstorming. If you have ideas, if you want to pitch it to us or send it to us over email or even on a comment on the videos, like, we'd love to hear them. And yeah, so with that, our episode today is all about blessing those with hidden struggles. So all about stories where people did something to somebody not knowing that they were dealing with something, or that it would make their day that much more improved from where it was because they didn't know where they were at. And so yeah, with that, we're going to start in Random Acts of Kindness, and this one is titled, A Simple Interaction While Shopping Opened My Eyes. Here it goes. My significant other and I were shopping and trying to figure out what wine and how much we wanted to spend on it for a recipe. There was a senior gentleman near me, and I made some silly comment to him about it and asked him what he thought. At first, he just looked up kind of shocked, and then his whole face just lit up. He smiled and joked right back with some funny advice. Just a small interaction, but as we kept shopping, whenever we were in the same aisle, either he or we kept up the banter and had a great time. He checked out before us, and he was still smiling all the way out. We were discussing why he looked shocked at first and realized he must not be used to people speaking to or engaging with him. He made us aware of how isolated and lonely seniors really are. We've always held doors or offered to help with their bags. Now we look for every opportunity to say hi, talk a minute, ask a question, or just make eye contact and smile. We should never underestimate our power to make someone's day. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it costs nothing to interact with somebody, or to, share a smile at somebody and say hi.
Right, exactly.
Which I know I do too. It's kind of awkward. I'm just going to keep down. I don't want to look at anybody. I just don't want to interact,
Yeah.
But, our ability to connect with each other is important.
It is.
Especially when someone is maybe struggling.
Right, exactly. You never know what that's going to mean to somebody that's not getting those interactions and feels really alone. So that's really, really cool. On to our next one. This one says, kindness means a lot. It was shown to me in the darkest parts of my life. When I was 17, I was in the hospital, found intoxicated on someone's lawn. Was going through some stuff for a long time with my parents. There was this nurse that spoke to me with kindness and took care of me like a mother. It was the first time in my entire life I had felt someone had cared for me with love. Then I realized everything I had tried to fill that empty void with was destroying me, and it never made me feel better. It never made everything that was going on different. But all it took was kindness from someone to make me realize that I had what I needed, my own self. how I treated other people. It can make an impact on someone truly. I'm grateful for that woman who didn't judge me in my vulnerability, but instead embraced me when she didn't even know who I was. She didn't know if I was terrible yet, and she overlooked everything. Yeah, so just another one, too, of like someone stepping up for somebody that was really struggling, not knowing the depths of how much they were struggling.
Yeah.
Waking up intoxicated on the lawn and feeling like they didn't have a mom figure and stuff like that, that void. So that's, again, a huge example of that.
But also, you know, finding the strength as well to, you know, find your inner strength, your inner, like, worth.
And that's really hard to do.
That's something that, without going too much into detail, one of the things learning aftermath of our birthing experience was, we know we've had some great people, but also in our lives, but also, like, you can't necessarily always depend on everybody else. You can't control what other people are doing. That's what I'm trying to get at. But you can, you know, find your worth in yourself. And if you try to put your worth based on how other people view you, you might or might likely will find disappointment.
Right.
Or find yourself feeling alone.
Yeah, 100%. It's true. And like you said, finding that inner strength, because that can be really hard when you're dealing with things like addiction, like waking up on somebody's lawn, or like even like for me, like I've been struggling with it since the trauma. Like I didn't realize how much trauma can affect like how you see yourself and stuff. Like it's really, really hard.
With self-worth, not addiction. To be
no,
clear.
Yeah, sorry, I should have clarified. But self-worth, like it's really, really hard, you know? So being able to find that, that's really hard to do. So yeah, really cool that person did, and that they pulled themselves out, but they also had somebody that kind of gave them that little boost that they needed to get out. So yeah, on to our next one here. It's comes from this subreddit, Made Me Smile, and it says, I work at a buffet at an arcade, and a little kid tonight, no older than 10, while he was waiting for us to put out another pizza, told me, "You guys are doing a really good job back there." People don't do that, especially not adults, and we're the ones that work our lives away. We should all be as thoughtful as that kid.
All right.
I like that one too.
Yeah.
Just another little short one that I thought was like, exactly, like little things you can do that can make someone's day without you even realizing how much it made their day. Because sometimes back there you feel like you're just going to get complaints, because usually it's just complaints that you get. So yeah.
All right, daily dose of positivity.
This next one I think it's just like a little thing, but I thought it was really cute. This was from the same subreddit, by the way. It made me smile, I'm pretty sure. This one says, after seeing his son bullied online, a father built a safe Minecraft server now home to 17,000 autistic children, giving them a place to play, connect, and feel accepted. I thought that was super cool. Because, I mean, think about that. Like, if there's a lot of bullying going on online and they don't feel safe, like, that's just super cool that this dad saw the need, saw the struggle, and said, okay, I'm going to create a server for other people's kids, too, so that they can have a safe space. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, online bullying is definitely an issue, and that is something I feel concerned about for our son as, you know, he gets older
with the hearing
and grows.
loss. Yeah.
Well, even just in general, like, especially because we don't know what the online landscape's going to look like by the time he gets to that age.
Right,
you know?
exactly. So our article for today was submitted by Phil Campbell, a listener of our podcast. Thanks so much for sending this in. It's really cool. And it's titled, Phil Campbell, Alabama, Why Do I Keep Returning? Here's what it says. In 1994, while attending college at Northwestern, I discovered there was a tiny Alabama town called Phil Campbell while watching the country music variety show Hee Haw. I grew up in Ohio, had never been to the South before, and I visited mostly because the coincidence amused me, and because I also had a new girlfriend in nearby Huntsville. At the time, the whole thing felt like a bizarre little joke. Instead, it somehow became one of the longest and most meaningful relationships of my life. Soon afterward, I started organizing gatherings of unrelated Phil Campbells from around the country. At first, the idea was mostly playful. I had hoped David Letterman would give us our 15 minutes of fame. But after those first few conventions, the gatherings gradually faded as life pulled people in different directions. Still, individual Phil Campbells continued making occasional pilgrimages back to the town. The trips were long, expensive, and hard to coordinate. Individual Phil Campbell still made eccentric solo pilgrimages to the town, but the conventions themselves quietly disappeared after only a few years. Then, in 2011, everything changed. In 2010, I decided it was time to organize the Phil Campbells again. The town's centennial celebration was approaching the following year, and social media now existed, allowing me to find Phil Campbells living around the world, not just in America. The town invited us to join its newly formed annual festival and hoedown. But 6 weeks before the large centennial reunion we had organized, a devastating tornado nearly destroyed Phil Campbell. 26 residents died. More than 100 homes and buildings were destroyed. So the Phil Campbells returned not for novelty, but to help organize fundraising and recovery efforts.
That story took a turn.
Yeah. We received international media attention. The town gave us a parade. Somewhere in the middle of all that heartbreak and rebuilding, the relationship between the town and the visiting Phil Campbells permanently changed. The connection deepened over time. The various Phil Campbells came from wildly different places and backgrounds. Yet, somehow, this strange coincidence created genuine friendships among people who otherwise never would have met. Following COVID, some other Phils and I started a new tradition in every town. Every new Phil, Phyllis, or first-name derivative Campbell who visits receives a permanent traffic-style sign installed in the downtown park alongside the others. This June, we'll add new signs for visiting Phils from Harwinton, Connecticut, and Zanesville, Ohio, along with an honorary sign for the late Motorhead guitarist Phil Campbell, who generously donated to the tornado relief effort years ago. Meanwhile, the Facebook page I originally created for visiting Phil Campbell slowly transformed into an informal bulletin board for the town itself. I found myself approving posts about missing dogs, beauty pageants, and people looking for work in a town hundreds of miles away. At its core, the story of me and Phil Campbell, Alabama, is about how an absurd coincidence slowly evolved into friendship, loyalty, mutual support, and love for a community none of us expected would matter so much. And for more than 30 years now, we've kept going back. For background, Phil Campbell is a former journalist and memoirist who has freelanced for The New Yorker, Harvard Review, and Columbia Journalism Review. He has producer credits in 2 films involving his own life, Grassroots and I'm with Phil, both of which are on Amazon. He's currently a nonprofit fundraising consultant. Yeah, so...
Is the film about his life about the Phil Campbell conventions?
I believe so, yeah, the I'm with Phil documentary, and yeah, so...
I might have to watch that.
Thank you so much for sending that in. That's so, so cool, and we just love seeing these things and reading them, and it's just been so cool to have people submit these stories, and we just really, really appreciate it, so thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very cool, especially the relief efforts that everybody came to, like, instead of having this joyous celebration of all the Phil Campbells, being able to go there and just be like, we're all going to be together in this. I think that's so, so cool. So, yeah, I think that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, thank you so much, Phil, for sending that in. If anybody else has any awesome stories they would like to share, we would love to share them on this podcast. And again, if you have any ideas of things that we can incorporate with that stuff we talked about in the beginning about like connecting with people through their struggles to be able to empower people, we would really love to hear it. So if you want to send that to us, we'd really, really appreciate it.
Before we fully wrap it up, I just want to say, like, Adriana, you've been so strong throughout all of this. Like, I know we're not going into full detail, but you went through so much. Not just that week, but the 16 weeks after. And you've still tried to step up and, you know, help be there for me and be there for others and work through your own struggles. And I know it's been really, really hard, but you've been absolutely amazing and an incredible mom. And I know you feel doubt here and there, and you have your continued struggles, but I just want to say that you are inspiring.
You're inspiring.
And I think that it's still incredible that you even want to continue doing this podcast, because
thanks.
For a while there, I was like, how are you going to come back to this podcast after everything we've been through and after everything you've been through? Yeah. So the fact that you still want to press forward and still do it and put out positive stories, it's just mind-blowing.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest, like, struggles are real, man. They're really hard. But I will say also, like, you've been really, really amazing and a huge support, and you've been so strong through it too, because caring for a newborn while also trying to help me through my stuff and just navigating all of this and trying to maintain work and all the stuff and juggling it all. You've been a huge rock for me and for Darian. So yeah, you're amazing. I love you too.
So thanks for joining us in that little the SAP session there, but I just feel like I need to get put out there as we're potentially marking a new chapter as we try to figure out, how we move forward from all of this. I don't think either of us are the same afterwards, and maybe our show shouldn't be either.
Yeah, we can adapt and try to find ways that can really, really help people, because that's ultimately what we want to do through this. And with that, I hear our son making some noises. So
you better leave a comment down below and subscribe and share around,
Yes.
And maybe we'll have more episodes then.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for listening, and we hope you have a great rest of your week.
And stay positive.